and we'll just figure it out as we go. Welcome. Inside no sun. I can stop reading the chat. I'm going to distract myself. Welcome to a gentle decoupling and enhancing your site with Vue.js. Accidentally reading my longer title that did not get approved. In this session, we're going to be talking about how you can use Vue.js as opposed to something like React or Angular, if you're an Angular person, to piecemeal decouple your site from the bog standard PHP that a lot of sites are still running on. My name is Giuseppe Di Aristotle. I'm a web application engineer at NBC Sports, specifically with Golf Channel. It's where most of my responsibilities have been recently. With me is Eric. You want to introduce yourself? You're just going to keep working?
Yeah, how are we doing, everybody? My name is Eric Ryer. I work alongside Giuseppe and some other talented devs. Previously, officially at Golf Channel, we've recently been moved over a little bit more to the NBC Sports side, which is the company that we were under the umbrella of and now work full-time for. But yeah, that's who I am. I have a lot of experience in Drupal. Been working with it since about 2012 or so. And I fit in perfectly at NBC because a lot of our properties are built on Drupal. So it's been a good fit for me so far, and I'm sure Giuseppe feels the same way. Yeah, that's it.
Great. So I'll take us to the beginning part here, just so that Eric doesn't have to worry about it and kind of keep going on to his work. So we had introductions here, and I skipped the slide. That's fine. For our beginning, I just want to talk about sort of the origin of how we settled on this exact process, and we don't need slides to follow along with that. In 2018, we at Golf Channel decided to switch our site over to Drupal 8 from a very long-suffering Drupal 6 and 7 installation. We had different parts of the site running on different servers that were running different versions of Drupal even. So we had some pretty clear goals in getting the site unified under one umbrella under Drupal 8. The dictates from on high were to keep it Drupal, keep it simple, get it done fast. And for 90% of the site, that worked pretty well. Articles, blog posts, galleries, all that works just fine with a smattering of JavaScript and your standard PHP. But when we got to scoring, which is a beast of a topic, we quickly ran into some walls. The Drupal 7 version of our scoring site needed full page refreshes every time you wanted to update the scores, and we knew that that was not going to work. It's bad juju. But we also didn't want to do anything with a ton of jQuery or something just to get Ajax page refreshes. And we knew that we would need a lot of not only live updating, but dynamically loading widgets for scorecards or betting odds or tee times. And all of us at our team sort of sat down and branched out, jammed on different things. One person took a React approach. One person tried to do it just in jQuery. And I went, hey, let's do Vue, because I love Vue a lot, unabashedly. I'm sorry for the React people in the audience. I know there are at least a few of you, but I am not a React guy. I just don't gel with it. React is awesome. But for our use case, I thought thank you, Stuart. For our use case, I thought the strongest argument for Vue was the fact that it's super easy to just drop into a site or onto a page just in its own little block. So what we ended up with was an entire single page application with 5 or 6 tabs, depending on where you are, with localization support for some of our partners in Europe, all running in a block on a Drupal page. And when we realized that worked, and we were shocked and surprised that we got it out on time, we started looking all across our site and realized that we could apply that same logic to everything. Our menu crawlers in Twig are kind of a pain. If we could avoid that and go into Drup or into Vue, we would. Search, yeah, we want live search to work, and that's historically been a bit annoying. So let's make that Vue. All of our various partner news feeds, JSON feeds. Great, cool, awesome. So after having ripped apart probably 60% of the site at this point and put new blocks and regions in place that are entirely driven by Vue living inside the Drupal environment, we decided we could share some of our knowledge with you. I'm trying to see, just see based on Eric's face whether or not he's ready to jump in, because the example we really wanted to walk you guys through is one that's a lot more universal than scoring. It's search. And then we'll go on to something very, very simple, which is how you can replace a menu with Vue like today. Ooh, Nuxt front end. All right. So Eric, are you
Yeah.
Are you good for
Yeah, I should be able to jump in right now and just kind of go over the search side of what we worked on with Golf Channel. So at the beginning of this year, we got a bunch of requirements that made us have to build a search page on Golf Channel utilizing Elasticsearch from scratch. So everything, we got a clean slate. We had to bring in Elasticsearch. We had previously built it in Solar, but we kind of shifted away from that for various reasons. But the requirement was, let's build a completely custom search and kind of throw out kind of this third-party service that we'd been using for search previously. So that's kind of the start of the whole thing. So kind of to begin the whole thing, if you go to the next slide, Giuseppe, the idea was we had to architecture the, so we had to, are you controlling the slideshow, Giuseppe, or is that?
Yes.
Okay.
I am.
Yes. Okay. So we had so many requirements at the beginning, it kind of felt daunting. You know, there was almost too much for us to handle, but because of folks like Giuseppe and a couple other people on the team who were really, really strong at site architecture, we were able to identify Vue as the right library to use to help us componentize most of the site. So with the help of Giuseppe, he was able to kind of guide us in structuring between various modules in Drupal so that we could build out search without having very much overhead at all. You know, Vue kind of allows for that, but you know, Giuseppe really set it up for us and made it easy. So go on to the next slide, Giuseppe.
Absolutely. I'm just kind of hitting the chat while you talk.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Okay.
If I look distracted.
Giving you kind of a basic overview of how Giuseppe architectured this in the beginning, we had various modules, but with this example, we'll just look at a couple of them. So we had a global module, which handles a lot of our global Vue components, whether it be a teaser or some other block here and another block there, that type of stuff. So we had this global module that handled a lot of components that we wanted to kind of sprinkle throughout the site. Now for search, that was valuable because we needed just to be able to plug in a teaser component when we brought back search results. So each search result would have a various teaser. So that was the first step, is just to get our global components set up in our global module. In addition to that, of course, because this is kind of like a standalone feature, we wanted to have a standalone search module, which required its own set of Vue components and architecture. But through, if you can see here, looking at the slide, we set up our search module to contain, I think we ended up with maybe between 20 and 30 separate components. But just for the sake of this example, I'm just kind of laying out some basic components that we started with. One being search, which is kind of the main container of search. We have filters, we have sorting, we have a golfer card. I'll explain that. Event card, I'll explain that, in a mini card. So I'll explain that as well. So the architecture, even though it seems basic at the beginning, we did have to brainstorm it a lot at the beginning just to make sure that it made sense for scalability, et cetera, et cetera. Go on to the next slide, Giuseppe. All right. So,
is there a delay in upload or in visibility for you? Because I see someone else here in the chat saying that they're not seeing the slides updating.
Oh, they're not seeing the slides updating?
Well, if you can see.
Okay, so Kevin.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Intermittent problems.
Intermittent,
okay, everyone's favorite type of issue.
Okay, so it looks like most people are able to see this. So the first piece, as I mentioned, was kind of the container or the main Vue component. This is kind of the wrapper that every other kind of mini Vue component is going to be plugged into. It's kind of the way that you want to architecture any Vue application, where you have your wrapper container and you just plug in all your different Vue components. But because this was kind of a small Vue application that we're plugging into one page on the site, we kind of needed to componentize that as well. So move on to the next slide, Giuseppe, if you could.
Absolutely.
So using that main search component, you can see that we're utilizing various components across not just the search module, but our global module as well. So we're bringing in a teaser, which you can see surrounded by the orange outline. Whenever we bring back search results, that teaser component is being rendered to use those search results, the data from search results, and just obviously show a basic UI, but it makes us be able to choose different pieces from various modules across the site and display them that way. We have other various modules, components rather, in our search module. So we've got our filters, which allows the user to filter by content type. Pretty basic. We have our sorting feature, which allows users to sort by relevance, which is an Elasticsearch function, as well as by date. Obviously run by Elasticsearch, but a separate component in itself, just because there's functionality there that we want to be able to manipulate and build upon as the project grows. So you can see just in the initial main component, we're placing, right off the bat, 4 or 5 different mini components just to be able to talk to each other and do different things. Now, a main piece of our search was to be able to bring back specific golfer cards or event cards, meaning if you search for a golfer or an event, a special UI element or golfer card needs to come back with some specialized content that we're ingesting from our scoring application elsewhere. Giuseppe will explain a little bit more about the scoring piece of it, but that's kind of the start of that. Head on to the next slide if you could, Giuseppe.
There you go, event card.
Yep, no worries. Yeah, so this one's obviously very similar, but the event card works the same way as the golfer card. Whenever you're doing a search for a specific event, we need to bring back event data from our scoring endpoints and make sure that the user's getting stuff that's relevant to them. We're providing, the best information we can based on whatever their search is. So very similar to golfer card, just related to events specifically. Next slide, Giuseppe. Now, another requirement, at Golf Channel, they had a lot of different TV shows that they broadcast either on a daily basis or weekly basis, so on and so forth. So we have these mini cards, which is a separate component, whenever you searched or someone searched for a show that Golf Channel puts on, it would show a mini card at the top of search results and then subsequently show your teasers. So just another example of how a different variation of a component can just be plug and played into the Vue application as a whole. Next slide, if you could. All right, so this one was a little tricky. Some of the talent at Golf Channel is also an active golfer or a previous golfer or somebody in our scoring endpoint as who has data, right? So there's a gentleman, Randall Chambly, who not only hosts his own show and is talented at Golf Channel, but has a golfer card. So using a lot of different logic under the hood, we had to make sure that we could bring back a golfer card and a show card or a talent card, plus all of the teasers, plus filter it, plus sort it, et cetera, and make it all work. But with Vue, it makes it super, super simple. I wasn't a Vue guy before.
Clear, not the most simple thing in the world, because each one of those highlighted items, the data is coming from separate entity types.
That's true.
Spread across the site.
So I guess compared to how we would have done it without Vue, it makes it very simple. Vue is a powerful tool that's really made this a 3-month project as compared to like a 6-month project. So go on to the next slide, Giuseppe. Another requirement was an autocomplete list. So originally we wanted to bring back autocomplete directly from Elasticsearch, but we just didn't have time to build that out. So essentially what we had to do was create a list, a cached list in the Drupal database in a custom table of all of the golfers and events that we want in the autocomplete list. And in total on Golf Channel, there's probably between 10 and 12,000. So you can't just hit our scoring endpoint and render that list every single time you land on the page. So we had to make sure that we set up a cron task to be able to create an object, cache it in our database, cache it pretty heavily elsewhere, so that when you land on the page, that huge autocomplete list is ready to use right off the bat. So that was another big feature. It's not exactly tied to Vue, but it is some Vue functionality that we needed. Also tied into scoring, some golfers are a part of multiple tours. For instance, this guy, Bernard Longer, he's a senior golfer, but he also is good enough to still play on some of the main tours. So we needed to be able to componentize his statistics, meaning whenever you switch, if you can see in the slideshow there, if you switch the tour, you get a different set of statistics showing in the golfer card and so on and so forth. If you go to the next slide, Giuseppe, same thing goes.
Just to hop in real quick, because I am reading the chat here. So we are actually utilizing Vuex pretty heavily throughout this entire project, and that's one thing to get through once we get through search, is that one of the complications that you can run into when you are handling everything sort of as its own module placed across the site is that you're going to probably want a lot of shared Vuex stores. And yes, Kevin, he was talking about storing all of those autocomplete options as an object in the database, already serialized, so that they can just grab it, put it into Vuex, and then begin parsing, filtering, all that stuff. But we wanted to make sure that the JSON object was already created and cached ahead of time on cron to make sure that we can get quick response times on that. For the question about caching, we have Varnish, Memcache, and the Drupal internal cache.
In Akamai, we got Akamai.
Oh, and Akamai.
Yeah.
Can't forget Akamai.
Yeah.
We have a lot of layers, which makes debugging cache issues fun. But we also do a lot of traffic, especially when Tiger's playing.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
thanks for
anyway,
that.
what I was saying about Vuex, just to finish that, and it's actually something that Stuart brings up, is that what we're doing on the initialization of search is actually preceding the Vuex store with just a quick call out to that cached object. We just snatch it. User doesn't have to do anything. Normally, anyone that visits the site more than once has that already preloaded in their local storage, which is pretty convenient. But to just hit on the point I was saying, because people are asking about Vuex, when you have all of these independent applications, because effectively search, the point that we're trying to drive at here is the complexity that you can get to in a single feature that lives on its own. Search is a fully featured web app. Our scoring is its own web app. We have user personalization areas called MyGolf. That is a big thing. Each of those wants to have shared a certain amount of shared data. So they each have individual store modules registered to a global store that we're instantiating before anything else on the site loads. The site loads up, and our base module, the one that Eric brought up earlier that has our global teasers and just basic styled reusable components, instantiates a store. Everything else registers itself as a module to that store as it's needed. That's the only way we've found that reliably allows us to piecemeal. As someone hits a feature, it plugs itself in, and then we can access everything, user data, where they're coming from, because again, we serve things differently for Europe versus the United States. All of that is handled in Vuex, and everything is handled via registering custom modules.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
Interjection over. Back to you, Eric.
Like Giuseppe's like wicked smart. So yeah, everything he said was spot on. Again, he's kind of the architect behind getting all this started in the first place. So it was a huge help for the rest of us just kind of hitting the ground running when we actually had to build out these features. Yeah, go on to the next slide, Giuseppe. I'm pretty sure it's almost getting wrapped up on search here. Yeah. Okay. So
Yay!
so we got the computer kit. So at the beginning of the project, obviously maybe not everybody, but I felt a little overwhelmed. I was new to Vue. It was something I dabbled in a little bit, but wasn't too experienced with. And by the end, just because, a lot of hands-on experience, but having it architected properly just made it so much easier to work with. And, I'll certainly be working on it on future projects. I know we have a lot of properties at NBC that we'll be utilizing Vue with. So it's a valuable tool, and has allowed me to build out some features that I didn't think I'd be able to do on my own previously. So yeah, that was Golf Channel Search in a nutshell. Obviously, there's a lot more to it, but it was a great project, and something that is totally possible. Totally possible.
All right, so quick pause. So Eric, did you ever get Node actually running? Because if not, you can still show off the code, and I will walk everyone through what's supposed to be happening.
So I didn't get it running, but let's go.
Fun.
And yeah, I can share my screen and we can look at the code.
All right, so apologies everyone, we'll be doing this a little bit more old school than anyone hoped for, but we're going to get to those menu questions. I know a lot of people were asking about them. How big our team is? What are we at right now? 3? I mean, in terms of actual development, we have a front-end developer, but well, I don't want to say but. Our front-end developer is actually coming along quite nicely and being able to use Vue. That's, I think, again, one of the strengths of Vue compared to something like JSX or React or Angular, which takes a little bit more like diving into. Vue a lot of the time just looks like HTML, and you just dump CSS and a style tag if you use single file components, which we do. So our front end developer is able to oh wow, Eric, please, you're sharing the video conference. Stop that. Oh. Yeah, Vue was able to get even our front-end developer onboarded very quickly into dealing directly with the data, iterating on stuff. All we had to do as back-end developers, as much as anyone is a front-end or back-end developer anymore, was create endpoints that actually accessed our data and sent back JSON responses. Thank you, Travis. And just to reiterate on what Eric was saying, no one on our team, if I include everyone, is probably 5 people at that point that actually had to touch the code. No one on our team had used Vue at all. And all of them were able to get up and running in a handful of days. Because Vue and the Vue docs make it really, really simple to just dive in. The template syntax kind of makes intuitive sense for a lot of people. And I think the ease of entry into the Vue ecosystem is one of the points that really allowed us to convince the people higher up in the chain that, hey, we can do this. It's not going to slow anything down. And yes, Claire, Vuex is very similar to the Redux store. They're both based off of the same underlying methodology called Flux. That's why it's Vuex and Redux. So they're almost interchangeable. Our one React dev, first time he made a Vuex store, made it exactly the same as a Redux store, and we only had to correct a few minor compilation errors, and it worked. So while they aren't really interchangeable because there's different coding standards in the different communities, they're very similar. So, all right. Eric has got the code here pulled up. Let's start talking about how you can make a menu, an existing Drupal menu, into a Vue menu. Do you want to pull up GC Base?
Yep, I'm there. Can you see my screen all right?
I can see your screen just fine.
Perfect.
Do me one favor, real quick.
Sure.
You know, I'll do it. I forgot. We thought we were going to play cool and not give everyone a huge slideshow to have to pay attention to. And it only now occurs to me. Can't do it. I'm on my desktop. I'm sorry, Eric. Go to the plugin list, and we need to get the plugin that actually makes all this possible.
The plugin list. What do you mean?
Drupal's extended, like the modules list.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And then we're getting requests that you zoom in on your screen.
Let's see. I've done this before in PHP Storm, but let me see if I can find.
I think it's just Command plus. You can zoom in.
Here.
Oh yeah, and everyone can double click to make the window bigger. So yes. That's true as well. Tony Wilson, is Drupal still hardcore in the React camp? As far as I can tell, yeah. The Drupal community seems to be pretty hardcore into moving forward with the React, which makes me a little sad, but it also means that if we're going like JSON API support first, it should be really easy to port in any framework. So
give me a hot second to get into the plugins list here. And which one did you need me to enable? Giuseppe.
Not enable. I just need the actual official name of the list. I forgot I needed to put that in the slides. I apologize to everyone. Drupal menu to JSON API.
I know there's a way to get a list of plugins with Drush. I just forget what it is.
Nope, I think it's just called JSON menu. Might just be called JSON menu. Okay. I will have to put it in the chat.
JSON here. Menu.
Or just look up menu.
I do not see it.
Oh, in the key. See, we're kept too busy right now to actually have attended the keynote, and I'm very excited to hear that React and Vue are going to be the targets of support.
Sweet.
And as for whether or not I would have it remain agnostic, I think as long as it's not onerous on any, like, I don't want it to be too hard on anybody to choose the framework of their choice. I'd hate to see Drupal become a CMS that you use with React or a CMS that you use with Vue for that matter. I want to see it accessible to anybody that wants to use it, whatever they're comfortable with.
So what am I looking for here, Giuseppe? I don't see JSON menu
See anything with
or
menu?
yeah, nothing.
Custom menu lane. Okay, you know what? We are
Oh,
deep in it.
custom menu links.
Nope, nope, nope. Don't worry
Okay.
about it. Don't worry about it.
All right.
I
No.
will share the link with everybody and the final material that we put out. I apologize. I completely forgot this one step of our demo. Oh my god, it might be REST menu tree. You might be my hero.
REST menu tree. This guy.
It is. It's REST menu tree. Yep. Okay.
Cool.
Thank you, Sean. I completely forgot to to put that on our list. Yeah, to make menus work, you do need something. You could write the module yourself, but as Sean was kind enough to share here, the REST menu tree module exists in the contrib, and it will allow you to have a REST endpoint that will give you your menu items. And it looks like Stuart is working on the JSON API version, which I started, but I got pulled into a lot of new initiatives for NBC Sports and don't know when I'll be able to finish it. So you go, Stuart. If I can find my old code, and if you want to, oh, you did share the GitHub. If I can find my old code and it matches at all, like I'll be able to contribute, I will. I'll bookmark it. And I'm glad to hear that improved menu API support part of the chemo. Point is, the funny story of the REST menu tree module is that the person who made it at some point worked for Golf Channel. No one on the current team knows the person. But when I clicked on their name to see who they were, they list Golf Channel. And that was beautiful. It was serendipitous to me. Point is, if you install that module or one of these other future initiatives that seems to be in the works, and you get access to the JSON feed of your menu, everything becomes very. You changing your size up? Yeah, because it is. Everyone's right. It's very blurry. Yeah, do that.
Yeah, let me see if I can.
Pump it up.
Doesn't seem to be grabbing. Let's see. It's been a while since I've had to do this in PHP Storm, so I apologize. I'm trying to figure this out here.
Control plus isn't doing it.
No, it's not. It's not.
Can you do scroll zoom? Are you on your Mac?
Yes.
View
No,
appearance presentation. We have Anne here.
Presentation. All right. Let's see. No, that's version control. Zoom.
It's in the view menu, not in preferences.
Oh, okay.
This is my fault for never realizing the screen looked blurry when we were doing this testing. Appearance, second option.
There we go. Thank you. And
enter presentation mode.
Enter presentation mode. Is this any better for anybody? There we go. That looks better.
Oh, wow. That's so much better. Amazing.
Yeah, that's much better. Okay. Shit. Pardon me. How do I get back to the navigation? Damn it. All right. Yeah, probably should have prepped for this a little better. I didn't anticipate the screen being
blurriness.
blurry.
Yeah, we apologize.
Yeah. Okay.
Hit Command 1. See if it pops up your navigator.
There we go. God, these people are so smart. Thank you.
Oh, that one was me.
Oh, that was you? Yeah, I told you guys he was wicked smart. All right.
All right.
Tell me
Finally,
what to do.
we may begin. I apologize, everybody. Yeah, if you go into our components here, you should see
Demo menu.
Demo menu. Look at that. All right, just scroll down to the script. All right, so in its most basic form, the way to convert a menu, and I apologize, Eric's computer's a mess today, as you've clearly seen. we're not going to be able to show you the final product, but the final product was just an unstyled list. So, fine. What we're doing here is we're on mount. You can do this as part of an init function. You can do it however you want. I'm simply reaching out, getting the menu that we want. You can build that string in the get dynamically. We're using Axios here. You can do an actual fetch request. You know, I'm not here to dictate your tools. Axios is pretty standard, but you know, there's a dozen options. Once you have the JSON format, all you need to do is grab the actual data. You can see I'm doing that with a simple response call using Lodash, because while I wanted to reduce our global dependencies, we haven't yet, so we still have Lodash. Eric, where are you going? Oh, you're showing everyone.
Yeah, I just wanted
Perfect.
to show them the actual structured data here.
Yeah, so what I'm doing is just mapping all of the response coming back from that REST endpoint. Each one has a link, so I'm just mapping however you want to do it. I'm grabbing each link entry, putting it into an array, and I'm storing that array. Congratulations, you have all of the necessary JSON data to make your link work. Can you go back and just zoom in on that, Eric?
Sure. Yep.
Because it's kind of small. Just zoom in on a single link. Great. So here you have the weight, you have the title, the target, everything. You have the direct node that it goes to, you have the alias. So you can construct this in a dozen ways, and you can even, theoretically, if you want to give somebody a very customizable menu that they can drag around, you have a weight value, and you can modify that and just move things around. What our example is literally the most basic form of that. If you want to go back to the code, Eric,
Yep.
and then go up to the template. What I've done is, now that I have
Give me 1 second.
this will work with multiple languages, but it will require you to have all of your REST endpoints set up to serve the different stuff. I know that I talked to somebody who did have English and French set up, but I don't personally know exactly the steps to go in to make that happen, because we haven't needed to yet. RIP Golf Channel Latin America, that we haven't gotten around to yet. Where you at, man?
Yeah, it's starting to freeze on me a little bit.
Oh no.
Give me a hot second here. Where'd it go?
Oh yes. Thank you, Stuart, for catching that question, which I missed. Yeah, it's those are Drupal menus that are literally admin structure menus. You build out the menu exactly like you would for a normal Drupal menu, and it exposes that data as a series of link objects. Well, we're having to full-on restart PHP Storm. Well, hopefully, for those of you who have used for loops before, you have an idea where I'm going with this. Now that you have all of the JSON objects in an array, you can just loop over them and begin building out the markup however you want. Abe Coleman says he knows what your problem is.
What's my problem?
Oh, it's that you're using a Mac. Well, they're provided by the company. So
there we go. Okay. We're back. Okay, so
yes, Steve, I am getting to that immediately after we show you the actual loop to build the. Yeah. There was a question that I just saw from Claire. I did mention a map a second ago, Claire. That was me for mapping the link objects to an array just into that menu items variable that you see on the screen right now in the data. But after that, I'm using Vue's built-in v4 directive. So you'll see that I'm just choosing for each link in menu items. I'm setting a key. You can actually set that key to basically anything. I'm using the actual entity ID. You're moving the screen around. And then I'm just inside these items, I'm dropping the link URL and the link title. It's the most basic implementation possible for this, but it gets the job done. We've done more complicated things. We've actually put these menus inside of Swiper so that we can do a bunch of back and forth stuff, built them into cards. Once they're in that JSON format, you can do anything you want with the markup. But let's get to the important part, the part that makes this work. Can you go to the demo.js script?
Yes. Demo.js. There we go.
We rambled about search for a little bit longer than I think we intended, and didn't get to the meat until just now. But this right here, ignoring the first 2 lines, which I honestly should have gotten rid of, is basic Vue implementation. We're importing Vue. We're importing the demo menu component. Julianne, I believe all of the sessions are being recorded and you'll be able to get them later. Yes. No worries. And Rebecca, this is partially decoupled. On its way to fully decoupled for us, but the goal is to show you how to do one block at a time. What we have here is a basic Vue implementation. We're looking for an element, an element with an ID of demo menu. We're giving it a name and we're saying, hey, inside of that, look for the demo menu. Now, Eric, get us to the templates.
Yes. All right.
There is the block template.
Is it in where is that?
In this directory?
Do you remember where I put it?
Above Vue template. Actually, before that, let's go to the block.
Oh,
that's what we're doing right now, Sean. So if you go to source plugin block, go all the way in, you'll find the demo block. So to make this work, once you have the component built, all I've done is generate an empty block. I use Drupal console and I just literally Drupal generate plugin block. I don't worry about the markup. All we need is a block and the ability to attach to attach a menu. I'm sorry, to attach a template. So you can see here, I have a build here. Technically, we could get rid of the markup. It doesn't matter because we are doing build, theme, demo menu. Now, if you go to templates, Eric, you'll find the demo menu template.
Can you see that?
Yes.
Cool.
And that's it. This is the entire sauce. We had one of our lead developers had some issues with PDB when they tried it, Sean. I'm not actually sure what it was. We were already kind of deep into figuring out how we were going to get some of this stuff done before we even came across it. But if it works, it sounds like the exact same concept. Eric, can you open up the directory tree so people can see?
Yeah.
Yeah, what we have here is just a template for the block. And you can literally put in that ID that you're looking for Vue, and then the component tag. Everything inside that ID is going to be read by Vue and instantiated. Do you load the Vue app yet? We load one entry point for our global. Sorry, I should answer a question, then read the chat. I get distracted. It's the ADD. We load one global entry point for all of our Vue apps that have global access that are going to be found all across the site. But for something like this, we would actually probably just we would make a library and attach it directly to the block. You should actually be able to see that I did that if you go to the libraries, Eric. But since you can attach libraries directly to a block, that's normally how I do it. You can either attach it in the build array or in the template. The same way you would attach any other library. I just make that initial Vue.js app and I attach it as a library. That way, whenever it's needed, it loads, it looks for it, because the libraries are loaded first. So, yes, Clara's got it. You just literally drop the component into the twig file. Once you have everything set up, it works. Vue is great. Vishal, I will find a way to share an actual like proper demo. The problem was we, without thinking, built this in our site, and I need to actually get a fresh Drupal installation that we can just slap a demo in. But I will add that to our resources once we do. As for whether or not it is good practice to use the Vue component inside the Twig template, it should be, because all you're really doing is dropping a custom HTML element into the markup, which is where it belongs. Any custom HTML markup, whether it be Vue or a custom web component or whatnot, that's where it would live. And I think that's the place you would do it. Stuart asks if, since we've done progressively decoupled and we wanted to do fully decoupled, I have done a few personal projects where I still do partial decoupling, simply because when I make a very simple site, I don't need the complexity of like a single page application. I can just serve up static pages. I've experimented with a couple of the options that try to do the sort of Nuxt thing, but with a Drupal backend, and that's worked out pretty well. I will say for our newest initiative at MBC Sports, we are going fully decoupled from the beginning. I do think that's probably the future of the CMS. But as long as the option remains to take things a region at a time or a block at a time, it's good to just have. Bobby wants to know. Yeah, Stuart, please hit me up. Stuart wants to know what we were using cron to cache some of the JSON. Oh, to create the object in our cache table, we literally created a custom table in Drupal to store cacheable objects. We created a JSON response and we stored it there. That's basically it. After that, we cached the endpoint to get it. So whatever the response from the endpoint is that retrieved that, that's what we're caching aggressively. So Akamai, Varnish, and the Drupal cache are all sort of layering on there. Julian. Julianne, the entire reason that we ended up going with Vue is to bypass the JSX issue. There is compiling that has to be done. Like PHP, you can just go and live edit the PHP and it would technically serve up again. But Vue does require a compile step. But I don't know that that's a huge issue because all of our CSS is already having to get compiled where we're using it. That's a separate talk that we almost did about how we're moving away from that. And all of our other JavaScript needs to get compiled. So it's a very small ask to go, hey, compile our templates as well. Yeah, I don't know that that's been an issue. JSX has its own issues. I think it's a little bit confusing for new developers, but all of them, they just have to compile. And Dan is just wanting to know why we're going to go fully decoupled in the future. To give a little bit of a preview of our thinking, it's basically so that a lot of our properties can share a single CMS in the back end. We want to use Drupal for everything, and then serve out individual custom builds for the actual displays of like Golf Channel has its own thing, NBC Sports proper has its own thing. There's a whole bunch of little sub properties and side sites like things we do for the Olympics. All of those can have their own just full SPA builds that are just getting data in. So that's actually it's less fully decoupled than it is just like we're going to be building like 6 different sites, and we want them all to use the same backend source. So yeah. A lot of people talking about build processes. Yeah, we just use Webpack to put everything together. I think for our new stuff going forward, we're going to do the individual sites probably with just Vue CLI, which is still Webpack, but RESTful Vue, we can customize the fields the same way we do in JSON API. No, the REST API is not as sort of fluent as the JSON API, which is why we only use it right now for the menus. And since it looks like we might have options soon to use JSON API for menus, we'll be switching over to that. Do we use Apache? Our site's on Acquia, so I'd have to say whatever Acquia uses. Like, is that Nginx? Do you know, Eric? I don't normally mess with our hosting side. Acquia is Apache. There we go. We're using Apache. I use Nginx on everything, so that's just me and my biases. And yeah, Lucas is out here talking about Laravel Mix, which the dirty secret of Golf Channel is that's all we use. I think we're going to do custom, like we're going to do some configuration and stuff to use Vue CLI for our stuff going forward. But me, at my heart, most of my custom projects are Laravel and Vue. My professional stuff is all Drupal and Vue, so I still use Mix. That's laravel-mix.com if anyone here is scared of Webpack and wants a really easy way to get into it. Thank you, Lucas Rasmussen. Let's see, and demo of views and views block support. Stuart is out here with more valuable stuff than our talk. Everyone should just be listening to Stuart Clark all the time. But that's basically it. If anyone has any more questions, I'm going to be here for, I guess, however long this stays open. Not that long. Be here for a few more minutes answering questions because I don't think the next round of session starts for another like 7 minutes. But yeah, basically the end goal is just build as complicated a thing as you want, as long as you can build out it to a single wrapper component. You can drop the entire thing in Twig. That works for region templates, it works for block templates, it works for page templates, and we're using all of them at various points in our site. Final thoughts, Eric?
I think you covered it. You're a rock star, man. Yeah.
I have the hair. So yeah, I'll like I said, I'll kick back for a few more minutes because I think the next round of session starts at 4:15. So if anyone has questions, I'm here. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your days.
Thanks, guys.
I believe there's, at least based on what I was reading, there's going to be a area, Steve, where we put our slide deck, not that there was much of that, and can add in anything we want. I'll be updating everything there, and I'm going to try to get a working demo and code base for you guys. But if not, if it turns out that I'm lying right now because I have a bad memory, you can reach out to me. My information is in my Drupal profile. You can hit me on Twitter. That's probably the best place, and I will get you anything you want that way. Just hit me up, find me.
And this is Eric and Giuseppe sitting.
Yeah, that's the most exciting part. Talk about what site component you might create next with Vue. For our next major feature,
Homepage?
Yeah, if we had the chance. I don't know that we're going to get a chance before we end up redoing everything, because it's just the way sort of the business priorities are right now. But if none of the new priorities had come in and taken effect, we were going to redo our entire homepage as a large um, just feed, just so that we could dynamically load content, because we have so much on our homepage that Google sometimes yells at us for having too many HTML nodes, which is a problem. So we really wanted to take our homepage and modernize it, let it load dynamically, and be able to change things out based on the user, because you can favorite players, you can favorite events and stuff, and we wanted to get a lot more customizability in. Metallica, we have not actually linked to the slides yet. I need to go in and figure out where we can edit all that in. But I want to get a link to our demo code and the slides attached to the VOD of this talk. But if you need anything sooner, please hit. Thank you, Joe Parsons. Go to my profile. I think I have contact information in there. And if I don't, I will update it immediately after this talk, and you can reach out to me directly with any questions, links to anything. I'll hook you up. No contact info. See, okay, so I'm going to do that right now. Eric, read some of this stuff. Answer questions for me.
Giuseppe doesn't want anybody contacting him.
No, I think what happened is I got hired at a national company and scrubbed all of my stuff, because I don't know that my Twitter profile is exactly what NBC wants to see attached to them. But, needs must. And so I'm doing it. Personal contact form. There we go.
I did see a question earlier. I think it was Vishal. Yeah, Vishal. I don't know if he's still here or not, but he was asking how we were actually connecting to Elasticsearch for our search page, whether or not we were using a contributed module or doing it elsewhere. So we actually built out a custom module to connect to Elasticsearch. When we built things out in Solar previously, we used the contributed Search API module and Search API Solar module. Those were really simple to use, but when we switched over to Elasticsearch, we just built it out custom. So we hit Elasticsearch directly.
All right, great. So I have updated my profile now. It should have some contact information there. Yay, it shows Twitter. That's amazing. Great. And that's enough.
Yeah, I totally agree, Stuart. Yeah, with search, Search API Solar was really easy to get up and get running, but we didn't see as much support for Elasticsearch out of the box in a contributed module. So we just put it together ourselves. It took a little while, but we have full control over it. So there's one benefit there. Difference between Solar and Elasticsearch. Honestly, I feel that Solar had a lot of functionality that we wanted right out of the box. Elasticsearch requires a little bit more prodding and massaging just to get it to work the way we want it. But I feel that the data structure we're getting back from Elasticsearch is a little bit more cohesive, makes a little bit more sense, easier to ingest. So if we had to do it again, we'd probably go with Elasticsearch to start.
I really liked using Search API as far as it went, but we had issues with the consumers API. I set it up and then I tried to do the image styles per consumer, because obviously we didn't want to be serving full-size images back for everybody for just thumbnails, and really inconsistent. We were constantly finding that we were no longer actually getting thumbnails, and we couldn't be serving 4,000 pixel, like those giant images just for thumbnails. That was a huge bottleneck, and we ended up just out the window, because the parent company, NBC Sports, is already using Elasticsearch for things, and once we figured out we could just yoink their hop onto their account, we got in. I think we plan on contributing back to the Elasticsearch once basically we clear everything with corporate, because they're sometimes a little bit twitchy about letting just us drop code blindly out there in case we accidentally let something leak, even though unlikely. There is still security concerns, I guess.
Sheila, to answer your question, I know that there's still some debate on whether or not analytics is effective when you're completely decoupled.
I think you're thinking SEO.
Yeah,
If you're
SEO.
asking about analytics, we're for something like our search page, which is a single page application but has like 5 different tabs and whatnot, we're sending out per page change individual page hits with all the relevant metadata, which we collect automatically. It's pretty seamless, really, because we're still registering for the bulk of our pages, like full page hits when you go to the page. All of it's handled by our basic analytics implementation.
Mm-hmm.
See, Stuart knows his stuff. Stuart, you and I need to become friends. You need to find me.
He's still friends with people who don't know their stuff. You know, proof. We're friends, right, Giuseppe?
Yes. No, you talk me up too much. Yeah, I'm very interested in this Druxt.js that I see on your profile, because that sounds fun. That sounds like something that we could really use in a lot of our a lot of things we do, especially for our one-off like event sites. So definitely something I'm going to look into. One line of config. Sorcery. I don't know that I approve of using black magic to get websites configured, but technically, that word does so much work.
Anything can be put on one line.
Technically, that's not so bad. I had honestly, I started play. It's funny because I think this is the second time that we've done this. I started playing with a Nuxt implementation for that, because I think was it last year's DrupalCon that we went to, Eric?
I
Well, you
wasn't at
didn't
last.
go.
Yeah.
It was me and Trin, right? That was last
Yep.
year.
Mm-hmm.
Time is a flat circle. Nothing matters anymore. Um, we heard a lot about Tome and what they were doing there with, I think, using like Gatsby or something. And I'm like, wow, I want that for Vue. And so I had started playing with Nuxt for Drupal, and to hear that you have something that's even to a demoable stage is exciting. The magic of open source. PRs always welcome. All right, what do you say, Eric? Call it at 4:20.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. A few more minutes for questions. I'd hang around all day for, with nothing better to do, except my wife and child are coming home soon, and that, Eric will tell you, impossible to get anything done with the 3-year-old jumping on me.
Giuseppe rarely works during normal working hours.
I'm nocturnal entirely. Which is funny because I'm also awake during the day, so I just don't get to sleep anymore. Counting. Oh, Mr. Time Zone over here. Trying to guess, when is 6 a.m.? That's 12 hours? I have no idea where that is. Because that's forward?
It's going to be basically right
I
underneath.
was gonna say, also, it feels like Australia. Could have been New Zealand, maybe. I don't know. It's hard to. Oh, okay, there we go.
Wow, good for you being up that early. That's awesome.
So add to the list of Australians that I respect, that I engage with in the coding community. We have like, what is it, Dorinda? Mikkel Dorinda? I don't know, maybe Eric's not as much of a nerd as me, but the North Meets South podcast is fun. Everyone should listen to it. And they have to deal with some weird recording times because they're split between America and Australia. All right, it is the hour of pubescent joke o'clock. It's 4:20, so we're gonna wrap up here. Yeah, Stuart, please reach out, find me, let's talk because you seem cool. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us for this talk. Hope, despite the technical difficulties, that you got something out of it. Giuseppe, signing off.
Eric, also signing off.